Oh, wait, hold on.
Oh, now you're ready?
Now we're ready.
I'm Tara Hutchins, otherwise known as Honeymoon, because I never missed a class until I got married and was gone for a week for my honeymoon. So it came with the name when I came back. You can change it and then I'll come back. But anyway, my story is about self-control. One of my classes, there was a student named Mr. Vastbinder, who is now passed since from Parkinson's. He was probably about 300 pounds, full of muscle, could leg press 600 pounds plus. And that week, or that day, was self-control, and I was the lucky one who had to spar him. Yay, great for me. So Mr. B warned him twice. Self-control, self-control. The final step was when I did block the side kick, but also with that side kick came that force of power and muscle and sent me flying through the air, through the door into Mr. B's office. That's when Mr. B said, okay, my turn, and whooped up on him. So the whole lesson was in class, self-control, and I didn't get hurt, but then your self-control out of the class when if something were to happen, there was no self-control. So it was a good lesson for everybody. It was fun, and thank you for lots of great memories. Maybe, just maybe, I'll return. We'll see.
So when I came to Quest Martial Arts, I had recently moved from Pennsylvania to Massachusetts. That had been my 8th time relocating throughout my entire childhood. And Pennsylvania had been the only place I've ever grown to call home. And leaving Pennsylvania was very distressful for me. And around that time, I was starting school. I had no friends at school going into junior year of high school. And coming here was the only place that could bring some kind of happiness out of me. You know, using my pain, using my sadness, using my loneliness to fuel my training. And the people here made a huge impact on my training, even without knowing what I was going through. And time had gone by, I had been starting to make friends here, and I'd been continuing my training. Then the night of the banquet, I finally got to hang out for an extended period of time with Mr. Mainhart, the Balligans, the Davises, LaMontagne, Pazienzas, and they've become my group of friends here that I know, regardless of whether or not I'm in PA or I'm in school or even here, they become a group that I can come to for anything. And that group has extended beyond them. It's extended to Mr. B, Mr. Duethorn, to all the instructors here, to the man behind the camera.
Hey!
And this place has definitely changed my life for the better, and words alone cannot express how thankful I am for this place and for the people in it.
Mr. Z here. Got my black belt in 1998. It's a couple years ago, and it's been a joy and a pleasure. All the different memories, all the different events, all the pushing, teaching, fighting, grappling, all the time spent here has been a blast. Been a learning experience, been a healing experience for many tough times I've had. Let me stop for a second. So here we are 30 years later for Mr. B. Congratulations, what an accomplishment. I realize you didn't hit the 100, so maybe you're a little bit of a failure, but maybe next time. And thanks for all the years. 1994, my first class, Mr. Mino got me interested in karate. I kind of had an interest for a lot of years, just had someone to pull me in finally. So I meet Mr. B for the first time. And you know, his hair wasn't perfect of what he did have. And years later, we're at some kind of banquet event, and we're writing things down. So I write down a little story, which I assume he never read because I never got smacked for it. So they come up with these titles, and I hear Sabam Nim. So you need some kind of word association to remember that. So I'm like, all right, I remember the first day I started karate. Mr. B comes over, and he's in his pajamas because it's a karate uniform, and his hair isn't so great. So you're like, nah, word associate, Sabum, some bum's teaching me karate, Sabum Nim. So that was my karate story.
There you go. All right, I'm gonna start weeping. Just ignore that part, okay? I have so many stories, but the one that I really like that sticks out in my mind is when we were in nationals in 2008, and we're all hanging out, the karate family, at the pool at the Holiday Inn. Just everybody's at the pool. I remember Quandanim, Sabanim, I remember Haggerty. I remember everybody hanging out, just having a picnic. We're all playing in the pool together. The kids are hanging all over Quandanim, like, you know, he's the big man on the mountain, and everybody playing in the pool, and Quandanim throwing me in the pool twice. It was a great time. It was just a great example of how our Tang Sudo family comes together and becomes stronger, and we'll be family for life. So that's what I wanted to share.
All right, man behind the camera. I have a couple stories. Both of them are not emotional, so I apologize. No tearjerkers here. The first story I want to tell is one of the graduations that I was attending. I was sitting on the side watching the kids do their breaks, and for some reason the same board kept getting put on the top of the pile that all the kids were pulling from, and it had this giant knot right in the center of it. And each time all the kids would kick it, they'd get about 3 kicks in, get discouraged, and throw the board, and end up back on top of the pile. And I saw Quandanim sitting in the chair watching it get put on top of the pile every single time, until eventually one kid tries to break it with a reverse punch. He hits it, shakes out his wrist, they throw the board away, they bring another board, kid breaks it first try. In the middle of Sabanim talking, announcing the next event, Quandanim gets up out of the chair, walks over, picks up the board, and says, "What's wrong with this one?" Puts his fist right through it like it was a piece of cardboard. And I think that story is one of the most Quandanim stories I've ever been able to witness in person. Another story that I have, which happened outside of official dojang time, Mr. Snee was training me for my first dan. And we were doing our sparring, and as Mr. Snee goes, he doesn't deal in half measures, so we were sparring full speed. And I managed to wear him down and get him towards the corner of the farthest ring, so to speak, right near the bookshelf. And I took the opportunity to give him a nice side kick right to the stomach, and he went into the bookshelf, through the shelves and everything on them. Sorry, Sabanim, for that. He gets up, and I go to help him up, but I notice he's walking at me with his hands down, which is never a good sign. It's like, "Hey Derek, are you okay, buddy? I'm real sorry." And next thing I see is a flash of hand gear. I'm on my back looking up at the fluorescent lights, and I see Mr. Snee over me saying, "It's okay, buddy." And that's the most Mr. Snee story I think I've ever witnessed in person. So that is my contribution.
I just want you to know that this will always be my home. That's it. All right, one story that maybe Sabanim and Quandanim would like to forget was when we did go to nationals, we spent the day at the Tiger Dojang with Master Wesley Jenkins. And it was one of the first times I had done the bow in the formal manner, and I was the senior person in lineup. And so they started, and eventually I'm standing here, and I couldn't remember what to say. And I see Sabanim looking back at me. I see Quandanim looking back at me, and I still couldn't remember what to say. And then Master Jenkins sees me, and he starts walking across the dojang towards me. He says, "What's the matter? Are you nervous? Don't be nervous. This is your home." And I stood there just frozen, not being able to remember even my name at that point. But since then, Master Jenkins and everyone at the Tiger Dojang has become part of our family, and it is part of my home.